13 bodies, 13 families, 13 questions that won't stay buried. From riverbanks to backwoods, from city parks to quiet streets. New England woke up to a roll call of the unexplained. They'll tell you it's a coincidence. They'll tell you it's noise. But listen close. The silence here is rehearsed by history. If you come here for a recap, you're in the wrong damn room. These are the unexplained 13 across New England. And this is Cigar and A Crime. Welcome back to Cigar and A Crime. I am Dr. D, and I am live in the Lounge of Truth. In this episode, we journey into the heart of New England, where over the span of a few short months in 2025, 13 unexplained deaths cast a pall over quaint towns and quiet backwoods. They call it the New England Mystery. A string of bodies found in rivers, parks, and remote groves from Connecticut to Maine. Officially, there's no evidence of a single predator. But in whispers and online murmurs, the word serial echoes like a curse. So light it up, listen close, and you know, the smoke, it never lies, baby. This cigar that I chose for tonight is a bold one from La Flor Dominica. Its wrapper is dark and oily, near the color of espresso. I toast the foot and take a slow, deliberate draw. Notes of black pepper and cedar and a hint of bitter chocolate coat my palate. The smoke curls in the cool morning air as I stand at the edge of those woods in my mind's eye. This ritual, the first drag of a cigar, is my moment of focus, a moment to prepare for the story ahead. Tonight's episode is called Woodlands of Silence, the New England string of unexplained deaths. Tonight I want to follow this 3-act journey from the first eerie discoveries of bodies through the swelling public fear and poetic fury of community and vigil, to the experts' search for truth among the trees. We'll meet families shattered but unbowed, investigators straining to connect or disconnect the dots, and the souls of the lost who speak in silence. And as always, we balance on the edge of fact and feeling. This smoke from this La Flor Dominica swirls, much as the rumors swirl through New England. In the gray haze, we seek clarity. Let's step into Act 1. The unraveling quiet of early spring, when the thawing earth began to surrender its dead. In early March of 2025, winter's grip on New England loosens a bit. Ice recedes from riverbanks, trails turn muddy with snowmelt. In Norwalk, Connecticut, police and fire rescue comb the banks of the Norwalk River, responding to a missing persons report. They find clothing and personal items left near the water's edge. A drone buzzes overhead, scanning the current. Then there, the officer spots something caught on a branch in the rivers that was rushing. It's the body of 35-year-old Paige Fannin, a mother from Westlip, New York. 2 days earlier, she had been reported missing back home. Her trail led mysteriously into Connecticut. Now she is pulled from this cold Norwalk River, lifeless. Investigators note that the river ran fast that day from heavy rain. Perhaps Paige slipped in? Perhaps something darker. There are no immediate answers, only a grieving family and a scattering of belongings left upstream on a small island. mute clues to her final moments. That same day, March 6, 60 miles away in coastal Plymouth, Massachusetts, a deer antler hunter prowls a patch of woods off of Route 3. What he finds becomes local legend, a human skull resting among the dead leaves. Authorities descend on the scene, careful to preserve every twig and scrap of evidence. No other remains are immediately recovered then. The skull's identity, age, and gender are all unknown. Two families of the missing women from the South Shore, Sandra Crispo, age 54, Brittany McCormick, 26, they're anxiously awaiting for DNA results, wondering if these bones belong to their long-lost daughters. The Plymouth discovery is haunting on its own, but in hindsight, it reads like an omen of what was to come. Less than 2 weeks later, on March 19th, another ghastly scene. Groton, Connecticut, near the old Colonel Ledyard Cemetery, someone noticed a discarded suitcase tucked in the brush. Inside, police find dismembered human remains. This victim is soon to be identified as 58-year-old Suzanne Wormser, who had been out of touch with family for months. So fear begins to ripple outward. The mutilation, the audacity of dumping a body by a cemetery. Surely this must be the work of a monster. So social media posts began to explode with this speculation that a serial killer was on the loose. But within weeks, Groton's police arrest Suzanne's roommate, 68-year-old Donald Koffel, and charge him with murder. So there at the press conference on April 25th, the police chief pointedly assured the public that there had been an arrest, dispels these rumors of a serial killer. Suzanne wasn't slain by a stranger in the woods, but by someone she knew. And in a cruel twist, Koffel, the one who was charged with this murder, he dies in custody not long after of some kind of illness before he can even face trial. Yet one case in the string of deaths is now undeniably solved, and it started not with a phantom predator, but an all-too-human evil, a deathless dispute, reportedly over drugs and money. Still, the pattern of bodies emerging continued unabated. As March turned to late March, 2 more women vanished, only to reappear as tragic headlines. On March 25th, in a wooded area behind a home on Rock Creek Road in New Haven, Connecticut, residents were clearing brush. They stumbled upon a human remains. The body was so decomposed that even the gender was unclear. Within days, the chief medical examiner ID'd the remains as 59-year-old Denise Leary. Now, Denise was a New Haven native, mother of 2 children, had been missing for nearly 6 months. Family reports say one night in late September, she simply climbed out of her bedroom window and vanished into the dark barefoot. Her loved ones had been searching for her ever since, even tracking her phone's pings across town in desperate hope. Now Denise was found virtually in her own neighborhood at the edge of West Rock Park. Police noted that no immediate signs of foul play in her death. To them, it looks like a sad accident or overdose, an unattended death. But to neighbors and amateur sleuths online, Denise's fate seemed inexplicably entwined with a bigger story. Another body, another woman, another wooded glen. The pressure on police was growing. What the hell is happening to people in these New England woods? The very next day, March 26, across state lines in Foster, Rhode Island, a group of hikers found the remains of a woman hidden just off a quiet country road. She is soon identified as 56-year-old Michelle Romano, missing since the previous August. Michelle had last been seen in the seaside city of Warwick, Rhode Island, where she lived. How in the hell she ended up over 20 miles away in rural Foster is still a mystery to us. The Rhode Island State Police announced that her death appears suspicious in nature, though they withheld details. Michelle's family at least gets the heartbreaking closure of knowing what happened to their loved one, but they also get something else. An unwelcome flood of social media speculation tying Michelle to a supposed Roman killer. Within days, they issue a public statement with forceful clarity that Michelle's passing is no way related to any type of serial killer. They begged people to stop spreading these rumors and let the investigators do their work. Imagine that, in the depths of their grief, having to combat conspiracy theories. And this won't be the last time a mourning family has to shout over the internet's noise. By April 1st, the tally stood at 5 perplexing cases in less than a month. Paige Fannin drowned in the Connecticut River, an identified skull in Massachusetts, Suzanne Wamser slain by her roommate in Connecticut, Denise Leary's tragic end in New Haven, Michelle Romano's suspicious death in Rhode Island. 5 lives, 5 very different stories, yet bound together by the cruel timing of their discoveries. The public was now alert. Local news outlets began compiling timelines. TikTok and Facebook lit up with amateur sleuths, drawing lines on maps between Norwalk and New Haven, Foster and Plymouth. And these bodies kept coming. April 9th, Killingly, Connecticut. State troopers respond to a report of possible human remains along a set of railroad tracks in this quiet town. They confirm the remains are human, but even by year's end, this unidentified man from Killingly remains a Jane Doe. All they can surmise is that he might have been transient, perhaps living rough near the tracks. A life on the margins ended without a name. April 20th, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. On a gray Sunday, a boater navigating the Cigar River near an industrial stretch under the I-95 bridge spots a body floating in the water. Pawtucket police haul the remains ashore. The victim is a man in his mid-20s, but as of that week, his name, too, is unknown. In the media, he becomes an anonymous soul found in the Cigar River, a cipher of fear. But we'll later learn his name, but that's in a moment. Stay with me. April 22nd, Springfield, Massachusetts. In a small park along a bike hike, not far from the Connecticut River, the body of 45-year-old Megan Meredith is discovered by a passerby. Springfield had been part of this earlier narrative, but now Western Massachusetts, too, is drawn into this circle of tragedy. So April 27, it brings a cruel crescendo. That morning along the Connecticut River in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, police recover a body that was washed up on the riverbank. By April 30th, Glastonbury, Police announced the remains are identified as 72-year-old Mary Colasanto, a grandmother from a nearby town. Mary had been missing for nearly a month. Last seen on March 30th. She had simply just disappeared one day, prompting community searches and prayer vigils. Now the Connecticut River yields her up. There's no immediate indication of foul play, says officials. Mary's death, while tragic, isn't labeled as a homicide. But at this point, the nuances of each case are getting lost in this public narrative. People see the headline, "Another body found in a New England river," and many jump to the same dark conclusion. Between March and June 2025, 13 bodies surfaced across New England. Some were quickly ruled natural causes, others clearly murders, but together they created a climate of fear for people. Paige Fannin, found near the Connecticut River, drowning suspected. Family unconvinced. Denise Leary, discovered in the woods. Police offered no answers. Michelle Romano went missing after a night out. She was found later near water. Her family begged the public not to label it as a serial, but pressed for answers. Suzanne Wormser, homicide confirmed. Man later confessed, who, by the way, died in police custody before he could go to trial. Naisha Mendez, strangled. Arrest was made. Early cases blurred together in the public's mind. It was just too many, too close, and too fast. Then there was others, remember? Stephen Myers, shot once, clear homicide. Samuel Stovall, died of natural causes, though discovered just weeks apart from Myers. Jasmine Wilkes, found in a park, overdose suspected, but family demanded a deeper look. Adriana Suazo, found in the Milton's Wood. Her family insisted she would never have gone there. Even held signs at her vigil, "This is someone's daughter." These cases had social media exploding. A Facebook group hit 65,000 members debating theories and spreading both facts and some rumors. Hashtags like New England 13, hashtag Say Her Name trended as vigils multiplied. Communities turned grief into action, raising funds, painting murals, holding vigils, refusing to let silence win. So let's clear the smoke and face the forensic truth. After months of frenzied speculation, law enforcement and independent experts have had time to analyze these cases in depth. The verdict, they say no single puppet master in the shadows, no regional serial killer is stalking New England. Now, this might feel anticlimactic, even frustrating to those who believe otherwise, but they say the evidence simply isn't there. Some of these experts, Dr. Peter Cummings, who argued about this cluster's created illusion, not one killer, but overlapping tragedies. Dr. Michael Baton raised questions and overlooked forensics. FBI profilers noted no consistent victim profile. Authorities confirmed Wormser and Mendez, remember, were solved homicides. Romano, Fannin, Leary, Suazo remained under review. Wilkes, Colasanto, Stewart, Wine, leaned accidental medical. Myers was ruled a homicide. Stovall, of course, natural causes. The public's fear of a serial predator wasn't confirmed. But the institutional failures, the slow communication, this dismissive language, delayed family notifications became their own crime. What was driving this collective cry? In part, it was frustration with the official narrative. Police kept repeating there was no evidence of a single culprit, that each death was isolated. Yet to families, that stance threatened to also isolate each investigation, potentially robbing it of its resources and urgency. Many feared that without acknowledging a possible link, authorities might not dedicate the extraordinary effort needed to solve these very difficult cases, hidden crimes. To them, denying the pattern felt like denying the problem. Interestingly, one voice supporting the public's unease came from Jane Borowski. She was the only survivor of the 1980s Connecticut River Valley killer. In 1988, she endured 27 stab wounds while 7 months pregnant, and she lived. Now she's an advocate. She didn't claim the 2025 cases were the work of a one killer, but she did say it's very unusual to have so many remains in such a short amount of time. This is coming from someone who knew the shadow of a predator in New England. Her words carried a little weight with me. But here's the harder truth. Many of these victims, they were felled long before they even died. Let's just call this shit for what it is. Several of these women were women of color. They were poor, they were working class, or struggled with mental health and addiction. Paige Fannin battled depression. Denise Leary's disappearance wasn't treated urgently. Michelle Romano's family had already hired a private investigator. The unidentified man in killing may never have been reported missing at all. Alone, these cases might have been brief mentions in the news. Clustered, they forced uncomfortable questions. How many people vanish without uproar? And what does it say about us that society looks away until tragedy multiplies? In the end, most of these deaths weren't linked to one killer. And Dr. Cummings even called it a mosaic of human tragedy, chaotic, unresolved, and in all likelihood unconnected. That's scarier in its own way. You can't arrest coincidence. You can't prosecute systematic failure, but you can respond. And New England did that in their own way. Public pressure led to small but real changes. Massachusetts and Rhode Island, they've improved collaboration on missing persons. Connecticut invested in a faster DNA testing for unidentified remains. Police acknowledged they must communicate sooner, with Chief Paul saying that social media's power makes silence dangerous. For families, closure is still elusive. Some cases remain unsolved, like Megan Meredith, Sunshine Stewart. Others ended in no foul play. But that doesn't erase grief. Families still want the why and the how. As we draw near the end of our time together, I find myself looking at my ash of my cigar, long and gray, just barely clinging to the lit end. This La Flor Dominica has burned down to the final third. Its flavor is now a deep, earthy resonance with a hint of burnt coffee on the finish. It's strong, leaving a tingling numbness on my lips. I take one last slow puff, watching the ember glow and orange before I set the cigar gently in the ashtray. It's time for it to go out. It's time for the final reflection. There's something that stays with you when you say their names out loud. Paige Fannin, Denise Leary, Jasmine Wilkes, Adriana Suazo, Mary Calasanto, Michelle Romano. Suzanne Wormser, Nasia Mendez, Samuel Stovall, Megan Meredith, Sunshine Stewart, the unidentified man in Killingly, the unnamed soul from the Sicknock River, and the one still known only to God found off of Route 3 in Plymouth. Their names, or the aching absence of them, become a haunting refrain, a pulse in the quiet spaces of our minds. They were real. They were here. Each had people who loved them, or at least noticed their absence. And somehow, somewhere along the line, many of them were forgotten before they were even buried. This episode is just not about the end of their stories. It's about the weight of invisibility, about how easy it can be for society to look away until tragedy forces our eyes open. It's about how silence, when wrapped in vague statements and official jargon, can become another kind of violence. 13 bodies, we learn, did not share a single killer, but they did share a society that perhaps didn't know how to hear them while they lived. It's also about being Black or Latino or marginalized, about struggling with mental health or addiction, about being vulnerable in a system that prefers tidy narratives and neat categorizations. When a story isn't clean enough for headlines, when a victim doesn't fit the perfect profile of innocence, the floodlights often stay dim. For some of these victims, the media only cared when they thought a serial killer might be involved. That's a hard pill to swallow. As a culture, we gravitate to fear-fueled spectacles and can overlook the quieter systematic injustices. Yet, I find hope in what happened next. When systems stalled, the people moved. They organized, they shouted, they wrote letters, held each other up. Strangers became allies in demanding that authorities connect the deaths. Communities actually connected lives across race, class, state lines. They built a vigil that spanned all of New England, a human web of empathy. We must not let the debunking of a serial killer myth make us complacent, because the absence of a single boogeyman does not equal the absence of a problem. 13 individuals fell through cracks, some through crime, some through misadventure, some through personal demons. Each case asks us, could this have been prevented? Could we do better? Maybe it means a better safety nets for those struggling with addiction, so Jasmine isn't alone in the park. Maybe it means swifter action on missing persons. Would Denise have been found alive if search efforts were ramped up sooner? It certainly means continuing to push for coordination and communication among law enforcement, so that if ever there is a pattern, it won't be missed in bureaucracy. And even when there isn't a pattern, families deserve clear communication and respect, not dismissal. In the end, the woods of New England return to quiet. The news crews pack up. The Facebook group eventually loses momentum as updates grow scarce. But for the families and for those of us who truly listen, the silence of those woods is changed. It's no longer an empty silence. It's filled with the memory of voices raised and names spoken under flickering candles. I think of the vigil scene, maybe in New Haven, maybe in Milton, where a sister said, "The truth can't hide in the dark forever." In the end, the truth here was not a dramatic monster lurking among trees. The truth was more subtle, more human, a tapestry of individual sorrows that briefly intertwined. As I extinguished the last glow of my cigar, I imagined doing so at the edge of a dark forest where someone's daughter was found. The ember dies, the smoke thins, and the first hint of dawn light touches the leaves. 13 souls at peace or at justice, we hope, in a region determined to never let such silence take hold again. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Cigar and A Crime. I know it's a heavy one, emotionally dense and important. If this story moved you, I encourage you to follow our podcast, hit subscribe, and leave a comment on our YouTube channel. I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts. Did this episode change how you view these cases? Do you have insights or personal experiences in New England during that tense time? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'll be reading all of them. And as always, if you or anyone you know has information related to any of these cases we discussed, however small it may seem, please contact law enforcement. That could be the Connecticut State Police, the Massachusetts State Police, your local police department, or even the FBI tip line. Someone out there might hold the puzzle piece that brings closure to these families. So don't hesitate, speak up. The truth only hides as long as we let it. This is Dr. D signing off. Stay safe, stay curious, and take care of each other. Until next time, remember, even when the smoke clears, the story and the fight for justice never really ends.